Hello, world. It's Zach. Welcome to another great show of No-Brainer with my host, my sidekick. He loves when I call him that. D-Rec. What's up, D-Rec?
Hey, man. Well, I'm happy. So what, like 3 weeks ago, I was just your sidekick, and then I've been your co-host. But today, I'm
Your
either
co-host,
host
man.
or sidekick. So, I mean,
You're
that's a
both.
pretty big swing. So,
You're
sounds
wearing
like
two badges today, bro.
I'm cool with it, man. Sounds like I'm gonna be just doing everything today.
Listen, we're going to dive in tonight. We got a really fantastic show. Unfortunately, it's a little bit short because our evening guest has a show at the crack of dawn.
I thought you were just going to say he's a wuss and couldn't hang for 2 hours.
No, because dude, you get up at 4:30 in the morning. So come on.
Yeah.
No, he is
Thank
the
you.
host. He is the host of Podcasting Morning Chat, and he'll tell us where he can find that because I'm sure he's all over the World Wide Web. He's also my coach, and he's also the founder and owner of iRonick Media. It's Marc Ronick.
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
What's up? Good to see you again. And good to meet you, D-Rec. Should I call you D-Rec?
No. Just call me. That's Zach. That's a special one. You can call me. Well, I guess you can call me whatever you want, Mark, since you're the boss here now. So,
I see.
Oh boy, here we go.
you could call me Dirtbag. You could call me
What up, dirtbag?
Peasant, and so, dude, Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
What's up, man? You got like you were in the midst of the Helene flooding and all that. That's crazy.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is I actually wasn't here when it came. We had a scheduled vacation. We were driving toward the Midwest, and we decided to leave a day early because we heard this hurricane was coming in. And I really was only leaving just because I thought, let's just beat the bad weather. I had, like everyone else, had no idea what was coming. And when we were in Michigan, that's when, like everyone else, you kind of started hearing bits and pieces. And then we were getting some really disturbing notifications because we own an Airbnb out here, and we had a guest at the house with their like 10 people, their whole family and extended family, and we're getting feverish texts, and we're like, come on, we were just thinking, you guys haven't been in a hurricane before, you don't really understand, you'll be okay. We had no idea the magnitude, and they ended up actually leaving like 24 hours later. They were driving aimlessly because there was no signal, so they had no GPS. They had no idea where they were going. It took them like 3 hours to get to just a signal, for their phones. I mean, it was a true disaster. And when we got back, that's when we really experienced the aftermath, and it's still recovering. It's going to take a long time out here to really recover, but thankfully they're working hard out here, and things are somewhat, at least it's a new normal now.
Did we meet prior to the hurricane?
No.
We met after. We met in January.
Yeah. This is another great person I met at the Podfest Expo.
That's right.
And that was, oh man, what an event.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I look forward to the next one. And you can tell us about yours that's coming up.
That's right.
Because I know I'm going to be there. I don't know if my cohort will be there, but I would like him to be there. It's up in Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's right. Charlotte, North Carolina, the last weekend of September, the 26th through the 28th. We did it there last year in June, and it was a huge success, and people really wanted us to do it again. And I wasn't prepared to have it in June again, just with all the hurricane stuff and everything. I just needed a little more time. So yeah, we're doing it in September, which happens to be, if you didn't know, International Podcast Day is the 29th. So we're doing it that weekend.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
awesome.
So if we do that, can we do like a 40-person show where we have to balance everyone's etiquette and video, and we can make Zach the technical guy for that? It would be a dream come true for you.
You're crazy. You're nuts. No, I think I've told you, I have a partner who we own a wedding venue up in North Carolina, close to you. We were actually talking about the other day.
Yeah.
And he went up there after the hurricane to check it out. Luckily, Perry Mountaintop, or Perry Top, whatever it's called, was not truly affected like you guys were.
Yeah.
But he was telling me he was down there helping bringing food and stuff, and they were pulling bodies out of the trees, and it was
I mean, bodies,
unbelievable.
cars, trains. I mean, it's crazy when it first came through, and we were driving to our house that we were getting ready to move out of anyway, and yeah, driving by and literally seeing cars in trees. It's just you can't fathom it. And I know you're in Florida, so you see hurricanes, but it's just this was a hurricane on top of flooding because all the dams broke out here, and that's when all the disaster struck.
I'm your
But
damn
yeah, I mean, there's
guy.
no comparison, right? Because we're in this like flat swampland with reservoirs, and we get smoked, and we expected to get that in Central. But like what you guys got, you know, a hurricane isn't about the winds. It's not about it's about the what would you call that? Like the indirect effects, the flooding, the
Yeah.
objects flowing and hitting you in the water, the losing power and communication. And when you're in Asheville, North Carolina, sure you get storms, but
Yeah,
to
nothing like
that
that.
magnitude and that soakage is something that no one has the prep what do you say, the preparation preparedness
Yeah.
to handle. You know, we're down here, it's like 3 weeks before, you know, we've got 10,000 line workers lined up, you know, in their trucks, and
We know
it's
it's
just
coming.
it's a completely and utter, it's a non comparable apples to
Yeah.
oranges situation. So
I will say though, that hurricane that hit anyway, that hit Fort Myers last year pretty bad. I went down afterward, or maybe it was 2 years ago.
Mil
Yeah, it might have been Milton, right?
no,
No, it started
Milton
with
was this year.
Eileen.
I
Oh,
don't know.
maybe. Yeah.
Anyway, but I went down to visit my mother-in-law before she passed out, and she took us like on a tour of Fort Myers, and destroyed the
Yeah.
beach. Everything was gone. It was like what? Like there was this place we used to go to it had the best burgers. It was called Bert's Bar. It was just a dive bar out in Fort Lachey, I think it's called, or Matt Lachey. Matt Lachey is the name of the town, or Pine Island. Gone. The whole island was flat. There was nothing there. Like, I don't know. Anyway,
That
it was almost
happens
like
out
when you're
here too.
watching.
That you'll drive by, you know, even down the highway, and you know, you'll look to your right, and where there was a whole neighborhood, it's just completely wiped out. You just you wouldn't even know there were houses there. I mean,
Have they
it's
been
insane.
able to start to recover?
Yeah. And I don't know, I don't think I ever told you this, you know, so I told you we were in Michigan, and then we actually went down to Indiana University because my stepson is going there for school. And then on our way home, or just right before, we were feeling really guilty. I looked at my wife, because we were moving, like I said, we're moving out of our house right after that storm. It was already a planned move. And I was saying to my wife, well, we got to get a truck for our stuff. And we knew we couldn't get it in Asheville, right? Because everything was shut down.
Yeah.
So we decided we were going to go to Tennessee, stop there, get a truck there and bring it in. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, how are we going to roll in with this big ass truck with nothing in it when there are people that have just lost everything? Mm-hmm. So we quickly decided, all right, we're going to create a GoFundMe. We're going to put it on Facebook, on Instagram, and all the places, and tell everybody that what we're doing. And basically the plan was we're going to go through, where were we? Maybe Memphis. I can't even remember where in Tennessee we were. Maybe Knoxville. I can't remember. But we went all over Knoxville. We reached out to places like Home Depot, Walmart. There was a big thrift store chain there, and we let them know we were coming. And we gave them, and we coordinated with our landscaper out here, who is part of a church, and they became one of the distribution centers. And he gave us a long list of like what everybody needs in that moment. And we gave that list to Home Depot, and they killed it, man. They had this huge pile of stuff for us, and loaded up the truck for us because we rented the truck there. We went to Walmart, same idea, loaded that up. We got over $10,000 worth of shit from all donations, and we brought it in. And because, you know, there's this guilt that you have because when you get out scot-free and then you see your neighbors all suffering, you feel like crap. Right. So like, what could we do? And that was the only thing we could think of. And it definitely helped. It definitely filled our hearts to be able to make that kind of contribution after something so tragic.
Well, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, down here, you see stuff like that we all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Derek, you got a call. He gets a call and it tells me when his phone.
No, not anymore.
I saw you.
I don't know why it all syncs together, but
It's kind of funny. So
that's incredible, man. Like,
Thanks.
I know
that warms my heart. But so let's. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the. Not that the hurricane isn't important, but of course, you have limited time, so I want to get
no
the nitty gritty of it all. Where are you originally from, and then what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, I'm originally from right outside of DC, the Maryland area, and I basically all my life. I mean, I was born in New York and moved to that area of DC when I was like 7 in 1980. And now you know my age, everyone. And then I stayed there ever since. The only place I ever lived after that was in Connecticut when I went to college, and then came back, raised a family there.
What'd you go to school for?
Communication.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
And then what happened was, so I ended up getting divorced and then connected soon after with my wife now. And we lived together in that area for probably like 10, 12 years, something like that. And then my wife got this crazy idea from listening to a podcast. They had a guest on who was talking all about passive income and how he has created a little empire getting short-term rental properties. And we listened to that podcast together, and I looked at her and I was like, you could totally do that, because she loves that kind of stuff. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And she took this course and found this house. We basically bought it on paper, and we never saw it other than a FaceTime with our real estate agent. But she had this itch to be in Asheville. She heard all these great things about it, and we bought the house. We sold our house and sold or donated up to like 90% of everything we owned. And we just came down there. We lived in that house, got it all ready to be a short-term rental property. We stayed there for like 10 months. And then when it was ready, we left and rented a new place for us to live.
So short term is kind of like Airbnb or
Airbnb. Yeah. Yep. Verbo
whatever
Airbnb.
Yeah, Verbo. Yeah.
And actually,
how many times did you go through that moving transition? So it's always like the progression dream of doing that, to where, I don't know, you have 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 10, maybe 20, but in straight off, you have that period of discomfort, right? And disruption. And I mean, how long was that period in your life?
Dude, I'm still in it, I feel like.
You're still in it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've been here for almost 3 years. This summer it'll be 3 years, and we've moved 3 times since we've been here. We moved into the Airbnb that we then left. We rented a place for about 18 months, and then because of the hurricane, we went back to Maryland because we had no place anymore to live. The place we were supposed to move into, we couldn't anymore because of the hurricane. So we stayed in Maryland for a few months. Then we found a place, and that's where we are now. So it's never, I was saying to my wife, like, can we please just stay here for like 2 years at least? Just because I need some stability. But it's been a great learning experience. Don't get me wrong.
I always say that I'd rather get shot than move.
Man, it's such a bit. And what's funny is we get, like I told you, we got rid of like 80-90% of our stuff, yet somehow we continue to fill up an entire truck of just crap.
Yep.
And it's like, where are we getting all this stuff?
and then you fill up an entire new house, and you're like, we my wife and I only lived in when we lived together, got married, we were in a condo for like, I don't know, 7 years together, and then we built a house for 3 years in Michigan, and then we completely sold at least half our stuff. Still filled up a 26-foot U-Haul, shipped a car down, still packed a car, drove down here, was in a rental for a year, and then been in this house for 3 years. And it's like, now if I look at everything, it's like, man, we only been in Florida for 4 years, and we got rid of half of our, like, literally, dude, you know how it goes. You're selling everything on whatever those apps are where people can come pick it up. I forget what that's called
that one
now.
Facebook Marketplace is a good one.
Yeah, but you're donating and selling everything for 6 months or 12 months, and then now, like, 3, 4, or 5 years later, I look around and I'm like, we have more stuff than we've ever had. And I don't even know how that happened, like I can't even, it's crazy. It's bizarre, so.
Yeah. The more we do this, the more I get the minimalist lifestyle. Like I
Yes.
think I can get on board with that pretty soon. Give me one more move and I'll be ready for it.
I have
I mean,
literally
it's
said
funny because like I'm totally on board with that. My wife likes to, I don't know, I think it's comforting or whatever to have clothes and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
dude, like I could literally have 5 black t-shirts.
Right. Me too. Yeah.
I'd be happier too than this room
Heck yeah.
dedicated to a closet.
Agreed.
Well, I always joke. I said our next move, we're going to move to a trailer out in the woods because I'm done.
You could go to that one at the end of your exit there, Zach, the one that's rusted out with.
I don't think it's there anymore.
It was in the Hills Have Eyes, that trailer.
We almost did that instead of the whole Airbnb thing, but we almost decided we were going to still sell the house, and we decided for a little while we were going to get an RV and just live in an RV for a couple of years and just drive around the country.
And
then we realized how much maintenance it would be and how much of a pain in the ass it would be. We're like, yeah, let's maybe just do an investment property first, and then we can think about something like that.
Do you have little kids or no? All your kids are.
All of my kids are in their early 20s now. The stepkids and my kid, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't have to worry. So it would be just you and your wife.
Yeah. And our dog, of course.
We talk about it that we want to, when we retire, is get an RV and travel the country, just me, her, and the dog.
Yeah.
The kids are like, well, how will we find you? That's the whole point.
That's right.
Go away. We have.
By the way, Derek, I love the Grogu behind you. By the way.
Yeah. So we live like
Here we go.
By way of the Crow, maybe 6-7 miles from all the Disney World parks.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He is a Disney World-aholic.
Well, I'm a big Disney fan as well.
I grew up never going to Disney. My wife was Disney Vacation Club, so she grew up getting sick of Disney. And then when I was 30, she booked a trip and she's like, I'm going, I don't care if you do. But then since then, it's been 10 years of Disney between cruises, international, every park you can think of. And so, yes, behind me is a very tiny, small sampling of Lion King themed popcorn buckets, a little
yeah,
I love it. There's more Disney stuff in this house than a character.
He just ran a Disney marathon the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it a 5K?
The one we just did was a 10K. It's 10K. We decided 10K was the perfect length to enjoy, not have to train, and not be too short. Marathons, like I did that once. I'll never do it again. I'm cool. I don't know. Mark, you seem like you're like the Iron Man type. Like,
well, I love a good workout. Are you familiar with 75 Hard?
No.
Have you heard of that? Okay.
No.
But as far as I'll tell you about it, but as far as running, I have no patience for running. It bores me. And probably that's my ADHD. It's just like, I need to be doing something else. And so I've tried, but it's just doesn't work for me. But 75 Hard is a program. It's a mental toughness type of program. But part of it is that you have to do 5 critical tasks a day. 2 of those tasks is to work out 45 minutes each time, and one of them has to be outside, rain or shine. So that was a lot, and also then you had to drink a gallon of water. You had to read 10 pages of a book each day. You had to take a progress picture of yourself. There might have been one more. I don't know if I listed all 5, but it was
sounds
a thing
almost
that you had
like the daily affirmation setup where they I forget what the acronym is, but there's a
that's from the Morning Miracle, I think, is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
I forget. I don't know that acronym either, but
it's like
I know that program.
It's S. It's like
have you ever met the Morning Miracle guy?
Savor.
You might be right. Yes, because it's scripting. I think is that S.
Yep. Affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but something like that. I know what you're saying. So familiar with the ideology.
Yeah. I didn't do that program. I actually did another one very similar called the 5 a.m. Club. And that's why I still get up to this day so early, because that's the whole premise is you get up before 5 o'clock, you do a whole morning routine that involves, mindset, but it also involves a workout and all that good stuff. And the whole idea is getting up before most people do in the morning, having that quiet time all to yourself. And it's made a huge difference in my life. It really has.
Are you sensitive, Mark?
Am I sensitive?
Yeah.
Just in general, just a sense. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a sensitive guy. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I didn't
Why are
want
you?
to. I didn't want to state the acronym for that one. I thought it was like psychopath or something. Where they?
I'm not that sensitive.
I'm kidding. No, I get what you're saying though. Like so, being from the cold, from Michigan, manufacturing, it was always 4, 5, 6 a.m. get up.
Mm,
Maybe work out before, and you're on the road and you're working. And when we moved here, it was almost like a rebellion of that structure to
uh,
where, oh, I want to watch TV and fall asleep on the couch till 2, 3 a.m. And it's stuck with me. And the problem is now I might sleep from like 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, but the world starts, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And if you start when it starts, you need, like, I need 2 hours of prep, man.
Yeah.
Like, I
Me
need to be
too.
ahead of it, so when it starts coming at me, I'm like,
I feel you.
catch it,
Yeah.
gotcha,
Yeah.
ripped, ready, good, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
So
it's like, and
I'm
you
down
can't.
with what you're saying. It makes way more sense. It's
Why do
just
you
like,
think I'm
man,
up at
until you get
6?
into that habit, it's tough to get into it.
Well, that's
Eric,
that's the
Eric, why do
key.
you think I'm up at 6 texting you every morning?
Why do you text me every morning the same book you got me?
I haven't. Have you not noticed I haven't done it recently?
Do you remember you said my notifications were on hide on your phone? Maybe
I
yours are
forget.
for me too, for that exact
Oh
reason.
boy, here we go. I'll remember that. No, have you ever met the guy who wrote the Morning Miracle?
No, I know of him, but I've never met him.
My pal Hal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually met him, and I got a signed copy from him. And
Oh, that's cool.
the story. I mean, his cancer battle and everything. What an amazing thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
He's
have
pretty
the book.
amazing guy.
It's yeah. So, okay, big question for you, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
You were in broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
You were behind the scenes, though. You were more of an engineer, correct?
No, I was. Well, it depends. So before I started this company 5 years ago, I was actually in TV. I was a TV producer.
That's right, producer.
Yep. And then in radio, I was on the business side doing sales and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I was, but my passion was in front of the mic when I was with in radio, and I did intern for like the local. They were a morning show. They became an afternoon show, and I used, that was the dream. That was something I really loved.
So
Where was that? What? I'm looking at your LinkedIn, man. It's awesome.
Oh,
Was
thanks.
that the Mike O'Meara or the blog?
Yeah,
Talk
well, Mike
radio?
O'Meara was, he
Okay.
at the time in Washington, D.C., it was him and another guy, Don Geronimo, and they were there for years. They were like the local Howard Stern. They did get a little bit national as well, but they were like the team there. And growing up, my buddy and I, we used to, in high school, we used to call them, just try to make them laugh all the time. Like that was just our thing that we loved doing. And we did it so much so, and we made them laugh so much that at 16 years old, they had us come to the radio station, and they left the studio and basically gave it to us for an hour in the morning. They left their producer there to run the board, but they gave us the show, and that was it. I think that really gave me the bug. That's probably why I'm here right now. And then fast forward, when you asked about Mike O'Meara, they had split. Don and Mike had split, but Mike had kept the show going with the cast and crew. And a few years after that, the radio station flipped formats. Zach, I'm sure you know about that. I think every radio station goes through that at some point. And so they were left without a home. So they decided to start podcasting. And where I had a history with them, because I also interned for them in college, I reached out and said, hey, guys, I've been doing this podcast thing for several years now. Maybe I can help. And they brought me in. And then I ended up running their business operations and assistant producing their podcast for like 4 years until I decided to go out on my own.
So is that how you or why you got into podcasting?
I was podcasting before, but yeah, I mean, as far as my love for talk radio is absolutely what got me into podcasting 100%. And I think the gateway into podcasting was my passion for fantasy football. I was and still am a huge fantasy football fan. And I at the time, their podcasts were just so new, and there wasn't a lot of variety out there, but I found a few that were talking about fantasy football. And I was just like, I can do this. Like,
right.
This isn't a big deal. Like I totally do this. And the fact that I was winning my fantasy football league is I had some confidence behind it. And I got another local radio guy and a buddy of mine that I had met online talking fantasy football. And we started this. That's how the podcasting started for me. We just started giving advice on, who the best players are to play that week.
Was that Fanstar?
Yes, that
Yeah.
was, and it was actually even prior to that. But yeah, Fanstar brought me in to do that for them. Yep.
Derek stalking you.
Well, that's
good host. My job, Zach.
Yes, as every good host does, Zach.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah, as every good host updates their Google Calendar for their sidekick, for their wannabe.
Every good co-host.
Their wannabe can get the guest talking about what he loves.
You know how tough it is for me to do stuff while I'm driving, Derek. And I drive all day long.
And a good host never takes accountability, Zach.
Not at all. I don't.
So
all right. So you got into podcasting.
Yep.
And your morning show, what drove you? Did you just want to continue a morning show from like being on the radio?
I mean, I think that's really where that came from, but that, there's a whole in between there. The buddy that I mentioned earlier that we used to call the radio station all the time, we ended up doing our own podcast while I was with the Mike O'Mara show, and we were kind of doing it under his umbrella, and we ended up doing that show for probably like 8-9 years. And it was, for us, for me, it was a really successful show. I mean, we were able to monetize it, it was a good side gig. We had several thousand listeners every week join in, and we even were selling content, like doing extra bonus shows, and people were eating that up and buying that. So we had a lot of fun and a lot of success with that. So what happened was COVID hit, and for whatever reason, the show started just kind of fizzling out. And
wow,
I stopped podcasting myself and just started helping other people podcast. And I was getting the itch again, and I really wanted to do something. And I figured, well, if I'm helping people talk about podcasting, then why don't I do a podcast about podcasting? And as you know, Zach, where it all started was the social audio app called Clubhouse.
Yes.
And that's where I was doing it, just live streaming, audio only, live streaming on that app for a couple of years. And then I kind of looked at myself and was like, why aren't I just putting this out there as a podcast? If I'm helping podcasters, I need to kind of practice what I preach. And that was it. About 2 years, a little over 2 years ago, I decided to make it a podcast, and it's been growing. It hasn't gotten to my Mark and Lowell show status, me and my buddy. It hasn't gotten that high yet, but we're growing, and it's doing pretty well. So I still kind of, it blows my mind how I'm able to talk about podcasting every day for an hour a day and do a show that people are actually coming and listening to.
Well, it's funny.
You have
Tuesday night. My buddy Daniel was on, and I asked him about Clubhouse, and he started laughing. He's like, I had to delete it from my phone because it was like crack.
Yeah.
He's like, I was on it and I could not get off of it. He's like, it was where I could go into rooms and talk about controversy and all these crazy things and not get judged. And he says, I just had to walk away. You know,
it can be addictive.
Yeah, it was totally getting in his thing. And so when COVID hit and you saw your podcast, I don't want to say slump, but maybe the numbers dropped off.
It didn't really slump. It slumped just with us. Like we were just fizzling out from it.
Your show kind of fizzled down.
Yeah.
Is that when you decided, I'm going to, like you were saying, you started coaching and you said, I'm going to do this. I like coaching.
Yeah. So my final year at the TV production gig, I had already decided, like, it wasn't my thing. I didn't want to be doing the TV thing anymore. And so I decided to start my business on the side. And then COVID happened, and we were all trying to do the TV thing from home, pretty much remotely.
Right.
And so by the end of 2020, they kept letting people go throughout 2020. And then it was my turn by the end of there. So I just decided I'm going all in at this point. If they're letting me go, I got no gig right now. So I'm just going to take this part-time business and turn it into a full-time thing. And that was it. From 2021 on, it was full-time.
So COVID kind of like changed your trajectory because
big time.
You were already into the vacation rental at that time, correct?
No, the vacation rental just happened a couple of years ago.
Okay. So you didn't. So it wasn't that you had that stream that was temporarily deactivated and then it fizzled out. You were just kind of like,
I was out of a job. Yeah. And I started the business officially, actually, with my first 3 clients, the plan was to launch in March of 2020. And then March 2020 came, and so did COVID, and we still launched those shows. But, at first I'm scratching my head like, is this going to be able to fly? Am I going to be able to sustain a business like everybody else was wondering at that time? But it ended up being a blessing for me. I mean, COVID, look, my grandmother technically passed away from COVID, so when I say blessing, I mean, it was a blessing for me for my business because everybody was home doing nothing. And they're like, what can I do? And then podcasting, they're like, oh, yeah, I like listening to them. Maybe I can do it too. Right. And so next thing I knew, I was getting referrals left and right. Mark, you know how to do this. Can you help my friend or can you help me? And yeah, it really, really catapulted my business way quicker than I thought.
Well, it's kind of funny when we were at the Pod Fest, I ran into Jacoby, and he's a comedian. He's been a comedian for 25, 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, he found TikTok and he blew up. And now he's all over social media. He's just a goofy, funny guy just doing videos. And like, when I was chatting with him, it was funny how people were just coming up and asking for autographs. And I'm like, I just was watching this dude. He just does goofy videos. I didn't realize like the impact this cat had. And again, COVID, he says the same thing. COVID was a blessing. He said, I was bored out of my mind. I found this thing I could just do stupid stuff online, and it blew up.
Yeah, I had a buddy who plays piano. He's just one of those like piano geniuses. He hears a song once and he can play the whole song on the piano. Yes. And he took the concept, and he made it TikTok videos. And he would say, I can play any song from hearing it just once. If you look him up, Piano Dad Dan is his TikTok, and he blew up. I mean, millions of views. He's got about 1 million followers, and he was getting on the news and all this stuff, all from COVID, because again, we all had nothing to do, and we just started putting our weird talents out there, and some people benefited from that.
So newcomers to the game. I mean, all right, I was in radio for a while, and you're funny. You're talking about radio formats changing. I worked for 98 Frog, Daytona's Jumpin' Country, and then it became 98 La Nueva, and I didn't speak Spanish, so I was out, So, but someone who wants to get into the gig, can you literally just start a podcast and just talk about anything? I mean, is it almost like, and I hate to use this comparison, is it almost like OnlyFans? There's some weirdo out there that's going to listen to you because that's what they want to hear?
Yeah, well, first of all, podcasts are now growing on OnlyFans as well, by the way.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, look, yes, of course, anybody can do it, just like anyone could put up a video on YouTube. It's basically the same thing. You can definitely do it. Are you going to get a ton of success out of that? Maybe, if you have something like my friend Dan, who had a talent. But I mean, look, if you're going to put out a podcast and just talk about anything, yes, you can do it. It's just a matter of if you want to just do it for fun as a hobby, sure, go for it. If you want to do it for some passive income or a full-time income, you got to put a little more thought into it.
Right. Everybody thinks they're going to become Joe Rogan.
Right.
And they're not.
That's true. I mean, Zach thought it. I had to talk him off the ledge.
I did.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, like I think that's a great point, because there's, like, I want to compartmentalize that, break it down, and then give it to you to put it together. Okay, Mark? Like,
okay.
There's focused and there's unfocused. There's prepared, there's unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
There's niche, there's general, and there's current news and evergreen.
Yep.
So, Zach and I were doing this, or Zach really invited me along one day, kind of a political show, and we thought, okay, you had an administrative change, and I'm not sure if this is something we want to go with, because it's just going to be either gloat, complain, kick a dead horse. We're just not so sure this is going to be like a fun thing for anybody to listen to. And, when we kicked around the idea for the show, it's like, I feel sometimes niche is like you can turn that, like what you do, you can turn that into a full-time career. But then again, how do you appeal to the masses? Look, take a Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing specific, focused, niche about it. It's guest interviews. He just happens to get very interesting guests. He happens to be a very good active listener, and I'm positive he puts a ton of mental and organization into it, but also has a team, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
so
Yes.
we come into these things too, and like that's why I'm kind of like sort of half joking, half serious about Zach, you know, with prep questions, all these things we can talk to you about, because you're a different niche of a guest we've had on prior, but we want to make sure that's something that is going to be interesting to that audience and that listener for what you do,
Mm-hmm.
to have you speaking on the topic. So is it possible in 2025 for a newcomer to do a guest interview podcast that's prepared, organized, and focused, but cross niche? You know, we could have you one week, a business coach. We could have a stripper, which we probably would never do. We could have an elephant. We could have a clown. You know what I'm saying? So what are your thoughts on that? Because you're the niche guy, right? And here we are more of in a general, evergreen, non-current news event type of thing, trying to have interesting content. Spill your guts, man. Like, what does the expert think about all this stuff?
I get torn by it all because, like your example with Joe Rogan, or like my old radio heroes, Don and Mike. I mean, they would talk about anything, right? And then here we are in this age now of podcasting where you constantly hear you got to niche down, you got to niche down. So I'm still torn by it, but I think ultimately, if you want to succeed, if you want to get on a faster track to success, I think you've got to niche down, because you can really cater to the audience, right? You know what that passion is that they have, and you can double down on that, right? But if you want to do something more like what you guys do, it's a little bit more. I mean, look, they're both a little bit of a slow burn. Both tracks can be if you're starting from scratch, but I think that it's a slower burn sometimes if you're really not sure. Like, we don't have that niche. We're just bringing on interesting people. I think what the key is once you start to build on a show like yours, you got to start to really learn about who your audience is. You are going to find out that you are attracting a certain niche audience. There's going to be something revealing, like maybe it's more men than women, and maybe it's men 35 to 50. And once you start learning more about your audience, then you can start catering to them and bringing on guests of interest to them, and that will help really build it out. And that's really Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan knows who his audience is, and he knows what kind of guests he's bringing on, and he knows that his audience are going to want to hear who those guests are and what they have to say, right?
1,000%. Don't you think he's kind of like the unicorn though? Like, in terms of, you know, he was well known prior to podcasting, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
through
Right.
different broadcasting,
TV,
Stand
stand
up.
up.
And,
Yep.
Fear Factor, right?
Yep.
UFC, Fear Factor,
Yep.
blah blah blah. I mean, he was in with that stuff when it was nearly a failure, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, he's on the ground floor of a lot, and just his star power alone makes it to where no matter who he speaks or talks with, you your audience can be any. I mean, there's times I don't watch him for months, but if he's going to interview Elon Musk or Donald Trump or someone like really notorious,
Yeah.
you know who's watching? Everybody.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
and if they hate the guest or love the guest, they're still watching.
they're still watching
100%. Yeah.
because it's interesting, it's controversial,
I,
it's exclusive, right? I mean, it's hard to get that guest for a normal person.
well,
Exactly.
let's get off the unicorn of Joe Rogan, but let's look at the guy. Oh my gosh, Theo Vaughn.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a niche other than maybe he's slightly messed up in the head. I was trying to use a proper word for that. I'm trying to be more PC. But he
Yeah,
talked. I mean, he interviewed
he's
Trump, and when like he interviewed him, he was telling Donald Trump about when he used to do cocaine. I'm like, who talks to the president about his cocaine days? People ate it up though, and he
Yep.
does. If you watch his shows, he's not. I won't say he's like us, but he's like us because he doesn't have a topic. He talks to everybody and anybody that he finds interesting.
Right. But he's kind of the niche, right? Like he's the
I
draw.
see.
He's the one that, because, and it's the shock value, you know, it's,
Right.
let's go back
Yes.
to Howard Stern. I mean,
Howard Stern,
he's the one that really proved that if you can be shocking, you can build an audience.
Yeah, and it's funny because you could go listen to Howard Stern today. I haven't listened to him in probably 30 years. Matter of fact, the last time I listened to his show when he was off the air and David Lee Roth was actually the host.
Mm-hmm.
But you could turn him on right now and he's still talking about the stuff he talked about in 1987.
Yeah. He's also toned it down a lot too. You know, he's not talking to strippers and hookers and things like that like he used to anymore.
That's what made him.
I've heard he's gotten very political too. I've also stopped listening to him. Yeah, he's gotten very, very political.
Very liberal.
Yes.
Very left.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, that's his show, but it's.
But see, that wasn't his show. That's the thing.
I thought he was going to get more hardcore, and I'll touch on that for a second here. I thought he was going to get more hardcore when he went to XM. But
he did for a brief while.
I find it really funny. Famous people, Howard Stern, musicians, were like the rebels, the crazy anarchists, and now they're the most like left leaning, and you're like, dude, what the heck?
Yeah.
Well, where's the money, Zach?
Yeah, well, Ted Nugent, ask him, or Kid Rock.
Well, I think right. There's money on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, then you're either going to have people just despise you, or even the people that loved you might go, you're a little too much right now.
Oh yeah.
So I think the part that baffles me is not the despiser, like it's that detest paying attention to, like Howard Stern. I've never really liked him, but when he was a shock jock, like you'd still want to tune in, right? Like, oh my gosh, what is he gonna do? Like, this guy's crazy. And now, honestly, like, regardless politically, whatever, he's so ideological that it's like, I don't give a crap. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to hear another ideological person.
First of all, I don't need to take advice from any.
And by the way, I mean that just as much on the right or left side, to be honest with you. People who like are so biased where it's like, okay, give the other person a chance.
Right.
You know you disagree with it, but they're like just guiding them down their narrative, and it's like, man, like I used to love the show Gutfeld on Fox News late night. It's just a funny show, man. And of course it's right leaning, and I am too, but after a while, like there's sometimes where it's really cool and you get a different opinion on there and they go at it and it's fun. But then when you have like 3 or 4 people who are just like guiding it down one ideology, it's like, well, you know where it's going to go. So it doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. There's no like, there's not a lot of like stay value in it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like Stern, obviously he went where the money was, you know, so the money's with the media outlets that he serves. And, you know, like a Kid Rock, it's with the everyman everyone's willing to give him $200, you know, and it's probably similar money, you know, but, and I don't know. I feel like people gravitated so much towards like the Joe Rogans, especially during like the political cycles, because it was a voice that was like either neutral or came at it completely different than how it went into it.
Well, I found it funny that Rogan even made fun of himself where he said The View was giving me a hard time because he was talking about medical advice during the we don't say the word. And he's like, who's taking medical advice from the guy who used to make people eat animal penis on TV? He's like, come on, what is wrong with you people? Like, you know, and so what you're saying is he doesn't have the niche. He is the niche.
Yeah.
Like Howard Stern.
Yeah.
They're their own niche. So we either have to create ourselves as the niche or create the niche.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to get pigeon-toed into. I felt that with my former podcast, and he's still doing good, and God bless him, he wants to do it. But I felt we were stuck in the corner.
Yeah.
And that was what we were going to talk about. How many times can me and him argue and fight? And it's still to this day, if you watch, I think I told you watched the last episode where I came clean and told everybody, dude, I hate politics. This is the biggest joke. We're not really like this. It was all a show. And, you know, so I just felt it was time to move on. Plus, I had just gotten back from the expo, and several people told me, dude, walk away from politics. Stop. It's not going to take you anywhere unless you're going to become Hannity and Combs. And, you know, and that's not the route I wanted to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so When you decided to get into coaching,
Mhm.
did you specifically choose the podcast coaching to teach people how to podcast and to build themselves?
I first got my business was first started based on production, right? So I looked at it as people wanted podcasts, but they don't want to learn, or they just can't learn how to do all the things, right? All the editing, all of,
Right.
the promotion, all of that. They just want to be able to get on a mic. They have something to say and they want to put it out there to the world. So I that's the way I came into this. I was like, oh, I've been doing that for years. I can help people do it.
Right.
And then what I started to realize was they needed a lot more help, a lot more coaching. Not everybody grew up loving radio and getting into radio and TV. They need to know how to talk on a mic and how to keep an audience engaged. So I found that I was already starting coaching the clients that I had,
Yeah.
and then realized that's really what I love. I love being able to sit down with somebody and light them up and see the aha moments, those light bulbs going off, and then seeing that in their work, right? They all of a sudden seeing that progression, that growth from episode to episode. That's what my passion is all about.
And I think you've seen a couple aha moments with me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And one of the things you taught me was, I thought, all right, this is my show, so I'm doing everything. And I learned real quick, and I will teach this. This will be a little tidbit for everybody. You can't hire yourself. Spend the money to pay for someone who knows how to edit.
Yeah.
Spend the money on somebody who knows how to get stuff online, because I tried, and I really wanted to do it. I wanted to be successful and hold all the cards, but I realized I can't.
Yeah.
I'm just going to focus on being the host. I'm going to be the voice, the face, whatever you want to call it. Let me, that's what I do. I don't have to worry about that other stuff. And then I get my wonderful co-host who went above and beyond and blew my mind. And have you seen our YouTube stats lately?
Yeah.
That's all direct. That's all direct right there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to do it.
Well, I just do, like we talked about this last night, or whenever we had Daniel Tuesday, just promo, shorts, and optimization,
Right.
But, and we talked about, Daniel has a good personality podcast too, but he was like, how do you do that? And, that's where I come. I come from SEO.
Yep.
So to me, that's like, well, duh, we have to make these videos findable. Like, like if we have a chance to get an audience, we have to put it in front of an audience.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that the struggles come when whether you have the realization that you can't do everything or not, it's will your ego get out of the way to be like, this is not my role. Zach, you're the guy behind the mic who wants to talk, and what do you know? You're really good at sales. Does that mean we should have you in the sales CRM for 7 hours a day updating your visits? You're miserable, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not that guy. You're just not that dude. And then someone who's maybe more introverted is miserable in front of people all day.
Right.
So I think that just the realization of okay, my gifts are this, your gifts are this, that's fantastic. So plug it in, and then where are the gaps left, and who do we need, and what do we need to help with? And we between both of us, we have tons of gaps. We have tons of holes that we're still trying to fill, even with someone who uploads and publishes and whatever, Laura does all this technical stuff, but there's still holes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
tons
we
of
slowly but surely find them and fill them. Like we found out the other night, we don't know how to go live yet. It actually tells me we're live right now. I don't know what the heck's going on with this.
Well, yeah, that just means you're live recording. It doesn't mean you're live streaming. Yeah, they should choose different languaging on there.
That's why.
Yeah.
But no, the other night it said I was live on Facebook, but they were liars.
Interesting.
They were liars.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to say though, Zach, you were saying, we were talking about investing, in people so that you can just focus on what you want to do. And I would say yes, but I would also throw in there, if you're doing this just for fun, then I'd say go ahead and learn it, right? But what I'm finding also is that a lot of people go into podcasting hoping that it's going to either be some passive income or maybe become a full-time thing, but then they refuse to invest in it, right? And they don't consider a podcast a business, and that really is what it is, right? If you want to make a go of it and you want to make money doing it, you got to treat it like a business. And then, yes, I would fully agree with you. You got to make the investment, right? You can't start a business on $0 in most cases. You got to put some money behind it, and if you're not putting money, then you got to put a heck of a lot of time into it.
Right.
And that's where I see that's my struggle as far as getting new business, getting new clients sometimes, is because all these podcasters have these big hopes and dreams, but then when it's time to put the money where their mouth is, they don't want to do it. They're like, oh, no, I can't do it. Their hopes is that I'm going to put it out on social media and the world's going to find me and I'm going to become famous. And it just doesn't work that way.
That's the 2001 web mentality. If you build it, they will come.
Right.
It's like, no. We live in a hyper competitive world right now, you know?
Yeah.
Well, when we were sitting,
If you're not improving with every tiny step you take, you are falling behind in what you do.
Right. And it's funny because when we were sitting through a lot of the sessions at the expo, I'm a people watcher, and
you're so creepy, dude.
Shut up! It's not like that. But I listened, right, and then I did that side meeting with Adam, and he had I was the only guy, which was really. I said, "I see you're following." He's like, "Yeah, bro." But I come to the realization. A lot of people went to that thing and they realized, I hope they realized, yeah, this is just a hobby. I don't know that I'm going to ever, because I came out of there going, all right, I'm about to spend some dough because I got to get good equipment. I have to get a coach. I have to learn, and I got to get an editor. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm going to spend money. And I see that I just saw when they were talking about it in like some of the formats and going over all that stuff, I saw people just like, it almost like the wind got taken out of their sail. Like, oh, I have to spend money. I just can't use my iPhone and sit there. Hey guys, because then they see someone like, what's her name? Derek. Natasha. Someone like Natasha.
She's your girlfriend.
No, she's not my girlfriend. Natasha I think she's up to 25 million followers now on Instagram. And she just became famous because I think she had something going on. I gotta talk to her a little bit more, but she's famous from just being on Instagram and all that, you know. And I think people see that and they don't realize there's a lot behind that. She has a whole entourage with her, and you got to spend the money. The number one thing I had to break my wife's no was getting a coach, and I said, honey, if I was going to the Olympics, and she's like, all right, the Special Olympics. I said, well, of course, yes. If I was going to the Special Olympics, I don't practice out in the backyard. I have a coach training and teaching me, or I'm never going to get out of the backyard. So I'm going to have to pay for a coach. And I shopped for a coach for a little while. I talked to a couple.
Yeah.
And you and I clicked, and we became pals, and came up with a great idea and a great plan. And I feel, other than my time, which I have to better manage, I think it has brought me steps higher and higher. And it's just, that's what people have to get the grasp of. Look, just because you can crack a mic and you may have a really sexy voice, or you might sound like an idiot on the radio. I don't know. Until you do it, you're never going to know, but you got to spend the dough to get there. Yeah. And if you don't, you're just,
I think there's a technical element too.
Career.
I think Mark mentioned too, like you can't learn how to do that's true. But like, I think too, if you're starting a business, God, I have terrible wordplay today, but really focused, but grassroots. If you're just starting, with nothing, and of course you're still going to need to invest money. I think sometimes it's important to learn every little thing. Like if you look at the Mr. Beast of the world, anyone who knows him very well will describe him as a workaholic, split testaholic. He's the guy looking at every second, every frame of that clip, like, should it be like this? Should it be every tiny little thing, and learning it, and then failing to let his ego prevent him from delegating it. And those are the people that blow up too, because,
well, that's how Daniel is.
Yeah, they're going to pick apart every tiny little thing, scrap the things that don't work, keep building on the things that do, and empower people to run with it as well. So I like taking that approach to some extent too when you're starting any type of new enterprise to really get involved with every function enough to where you're competent. So one, either you know who to give it to, or two, you know how to not get screwed over, or three, you
Right.
know how to not waste your time doing something you either don't like or you hate.
Yeah,
You know,
and
Zach.
and you also
Yeah.
get to once you learn it, then you know how to speak the lingo to the people that you're going to hire, right? Like if you're going to hire an editor, if you don't know how to edit at all, you're at the mercy of that editor, right?
Right.
And so the editor could do something and you could come back to them and say, I don't really like that. And they could tell you, sorry, that's just the way it works. And you don't know the wiser for it, right? And so I'm totally with you. I think it's really important to learn those things. So it's not a bad thing if you want to spend the first year of podcasting learning how to do it before you make that investment, fine. But it's just that you can't expect to keep doing it by yourself over and over and over again and get any different results than you've already got.
Mm-hmm.
You do your shows live every day.
I do.
Do you edit them later and then re-upload them other places?
Yeah. So, and that's talk about, so look, I've been doing this for 20 years, right? And I used to, for the first half of it, I used to do it all myself. And then I, eventually started my business and have a team doing it and people editing for me. But then when I started this morning show, I went back to square one. Like I did all the work. I did all the editing myself. I did all the promotion myself. I didn't farm it off to my team because I felt like it was important for me to be in the trenches, especially if I'm going to be teaching people. Yeah, I've done it, been there, done it, but I haven't been there, done it in 2024 and 2025. It changes, and I want to be able to understand what my clients go through. So I took it on for probably at least 6 to 10 months by myself. And once I felt like, okay, now it's becoming too much for me, I got to run my business, then I handed it off to a team. I hired somebody even outside of my business to do the editing for me. I'm still doing the promotional stuff for the time being, but that's going to be the next thing that I hand off.
Do you write your own newsletters?
Yes.
So you still do that yourself?
I do, but and of course, and I write it in my newsletter, so this is not anything surprising. But yeah, of course, I use AI to help me do it.
Yeah.
But it's all my content that I have AI. I basically either give it transcripts from my shows, or I will give it, my whatever's running through my head, right? I'll just give it my thoughts, my ideas. Here's what I want to write about, or I'll just write the damn thing myself and then have it correct it and sweeten it a little bit for me. But yeah, I'm going to use AI to do that. If I'm going to take it on all by myself, I still got to find some kind of person or tool to help me along.
Well, Mark, I know you're short on time. I just want for first of all, I want to thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And
you're welcome, man.
I'd like to have you back again because there's
I'd
so
love
much
to.
more we could peel this onion way more. But tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah.
And if someone would like to become an aspiring podcaster and is looking for a coach, how they can do that.
Sure. So my company is iRonick Media, and that's spelled IRONICK. It's play off of my last name. So you can go to ironickmedia.com to find out more about how I could help you in podcasting. And if you want to get to know me a little bit better before you maybe pull that trigger, then you can just go find my podcast, Podcasting Morning Chat. We're on all the platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, all the rest of them. You can find me there and you can hear what I do over there. I have other podcasters, the beauty of doing it live. I have other podcasters there sharing their experiences, their wisdom. It's not just me spewing out what you should and shouldn't do. It's more of a conversation. We all talk about the different ways that we have found success. So some of the ways I found success, some of my co-hosts, that's not how that wasn't their path, right? And so they share their strategies, their expertise, and it's become a really good tool for a lot of podcasters. So I would say those areas are great to connect with me. And then lastly, you mentioned it earlier, I do this conference now. This is the second year in a row. It's called Empowered Podcasting. And like I said, we're doing that in Charlotte. That's a live event. So if anybody's interested, you can go to empoweredpodcasting.com and learn more about that and get yourself a ticket and come out to Charlotte at the end of September.
I'll be there too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm glad.
I'm gonna be a doorman or something.
Yeah, you can if you want to volunteer. You can help out. We're looking for volunteers.
I will.
Yeah, man.
That's actually how we met. You were volunteering. Were you volunteering?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were volunteering. Were you an MC?
I was an MC. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was introducing the speakers in the sessions.
I'll tell you, man.
This setup. I mean, it was
The thing with the being the speaker, that was one of the first times that I wasn't actually a speaker on stage, like giving a presentation. And
Right.
a lot of the people similar to me in my shoes, that's why we do it, is we do it so that we can meet new podcasters and get some business, hopefully, right? I got more business from just being an MC, introducing my competition, more or less. I got more business doing that than actually standing on a stage and giving a 30-minute presentation. It was pretty wild.
Okay. Well, that's how I met you. You were sitting right in front of me at, I don't remember whose session it was.
Well, Adam.
Oh, it was Adam's.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how we met.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And all right. So, and if you guys need a reference, I will gladly give him a 5-star review.
Thank you.
So far.
Thank you.
I want to dive into our next show when you can come back.
Yeah.
I would really like to talk to you about the mechanics, what to use, what not to use,
sure,
what sites to go to. Derek and I fight over this all day long because he's not a fan of my choices of the podcast platforms that I've made.
Well,
thanks for that painting that picture, Zach.
I haven't given Derek enough crap yet. So let me just say, the first thing I'll give you is some advice on a microphone.
Yeah,
he needs a microphone.
I'm telling you.
I mean, I have one. It's just one of these.
Yeah, but I don't even think that's hooked up. I don't think it's coming through because I'm hearing just the regular phone noise. Like the regular phone sound. It doesn't sound like it's coming from a microphone.
It's on. It's probably
tap on it. Tap on that for me. Yeah, it's not connected to Riverside at least.
Oh,
we're not hearing it.
It's recognized.
So I'll teach you guys how to use it too.
Derek, I have.
I'm just kidding.
Just in case you're wondering, Derek, I have 2 microphones.
You mean to tell me you had an extra microphone this entire time?
That's Lorianne's.
Or have you seen Dumb and Dumber 97 times?
If you come to my house, you can.
I'm going to kill you.
Actually, you know what? I got you hooked up. I have a 3rd microphone actually that's for my voiceover, but this one's better. So I can give you that one, and you just got to get a soundboard.
We'll get it figured out.
Yeah, but I'll
probably just end up buying one.
Dig into you next time, Mark. I want to definitely talk about that. I want to talk about Libsyn versus Riverside versus PodOps versus SteamYard. That's the one got thrown at me the other. Stream. Why did I say SteamYard? I'm thinking of SteamYard punks. StreamYard. Like how do you how you get your podcast to all the platforms? So those are some questions we're going to tear into. So guys, stay tuned. And then the other thing I really want to dive into with you is what you and I talked in the coaching session about doing short sets.
Yeah. Short form podcasting. Yeah.
So excellent. We can't wait to have you back. You've been a fantastic guest.
Yeah, I love that.
The audience is listening. That was a terrible fade out. Good Lord. Oh my goodness. My radio days, I forgot how to fade out. Mark, again, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.